That's right, we are back. Welcome back to Space Engineers. Another episode of the H-Node Depot. I mean, it's not really the H-Node Depot anymore. We left it behind. We're now cruising out here on the Valle Crucis. Between episodes, I did a little bit of a touch-up, a little bit of painting. It's still not complete. We still need to, paint along here, and I'm not sure what colors these should be. I don't know if the other side has it determined. It's not perfect, but it is in progress. Everything's always in progress. We brought along our two little ships, the miner, the golf cart, and we are on our way to the Gamma Warp Gate. 5,000 kilometers is obviously too far, so we were building up the jump drive that we have in here. Of course, we're super poor. This is a lot of power cells, a lot of gravity components, but the main thing is 1,000 superconductors, and we can just not afford that right now. But hey, we've got a bit of a ship, we've got a bit of a destination. We do not have a front cockpit, and we do not have much in the way of defense. This is like our one turret, and we've got a tiny mini turret under there. Oh, and power. Power is terrible. I slapped these two hydrogen engines on, but we don't have a steady supply of ice or anything. There was a comment from Alan Billings that we should add our solar panels back. I mean, we should also go mining for uranium and build a reactor, but right now, I think we just need to whack some solar panels on. I'm going to quickly do a time lapse. Let's get some solar panels going. Okay, after that time lapse and a significant amount of faffing about with the control scripts to get this right, we have built the solar array folded up neatly on one side, and I have also duplicated it and it's folded up neatly on the other side. What do I mean by folded up? This is not what the time lapse showed. This is not how we built it. Well, the really cool thing is we can now stow this away, or we can deploy them out and aim them at the sun. Let's jump in. And you can see on my hotbar, I've now got these two scripts called solar deploy and solar stow. So if I hit solar deploy, oh, look at that, the solar panels are coming out. I know it's a little bit janky and everything moves around a little bit wonky, but these should deploy all the way. And then after 15 seconds, they will face and rotate the sun. And that's fantastic. You see, with these set up solar panels and the logic that is built in with them and the folding away, it took a bit of faffing about. You've got all these little hinges, you need to make sure that they're folding out at the right place, and that the rotor is turning to face the sun with this little turret controller here. Now, all of this, I'm not sure if you want me to explain the details or you just want to see the magic afterwards. But basically, it's a combination of Mother OS and setting up a series of commands that if we look here, you can see solar stow here is folding things away, so this is rotating all the hinges to a certain angle. Or when you're deploying it, it is rotating things to an open angle, and you can see that you turn on the controller solar. I could go into this with more detail, but I think we're just going to leave that for now. And if need be, again, we can do a separate tutorial one day. But it's getting in the way. Now that we have our power climbing, I want to set my sights on what is next. And what is next is, as I said before, we need some gold, we need some silver, we need platinum, and we definitely need uranium. It's a good start to our power production, but I'd love to still get into a reactor of some sorts. We have a classic case of we need to go mining or we need to go hunting. But we don't really have the military might to take on any of the ships that are floating out here. But the easiest thing right now is we jump in our miner and we go looking. I have flown around this asteroid a couple of times and I'm really not seeing anything. I don't know if I'm reading a false positive or somehow the ores are right down in the middle, but I'm just gonna see what happens if we dig. Let's just go in. You're probably screaming at the screen because you can see it before I did. I did not have my antenna turned on. But now it's turned on, we can see where the ore signals are. And now we should see some ice. Look at that, ice. Let's grab some ice. So we've got about half an inventory of ice right now. It seems like the iron is in the middle of the rock. So let's just go digging. And with that, it's time for us to zap on back to the Valle Crucis. Fabulous, we're all parked up and that should be loading. And where is our refinery? Okay, it's behind there, but I can hear it running already. Refinery, yeah, processing our iron. And how much ice did we get? We got a bit.
Yes! Hell yeah!
And so that is generating there. I guess our minor O2 generator is also generating. That's fine. Let's now grab those engines and let's turn them on. So they should be starting to pump out some power output as well. This has given me a real quick idea though. Rather than having to use the miner to scan asteroids, maybe we do like a little recon something on top here that we can control and work. And I'm actually thinking of getting 2 birds with 1 stone and turning this recon gimbal into a custom turret that we can just slap some guns on and that will help us defend the Valle Crucis. I know if we just dig through here, we should find our way to some... Yeah, so that's a reinforced conveyor tube. Well, that's a conveyor there as well. Let's take that one out and grab one of these. Now I've got the pieces. We should be connecting our cargo terminal back up. Gonna build a corner piece that's going upwards again. Let's weld this up immediately. But on top of this, my hope is that we can... At what height? Yeah, about here we want to be able to build an advanced rotor. So we're putting down an advanced rotor here. And oh my god, I did not come with prepared materials. And this, I know it doesn't look like it, but this is going to be able to spin in place. So this is going to be able to spin in place. And on top of this, we can build, I guess, the next part of the axis, which would be a hinge. Now I'm going to build up the outside of this hinge, but the inside I'm going to cut away and we're going to... This is all large grid, but I want to build a small grid inner hinge piece, inner hinge part. And on top of that, we're going to be able to build our custom turret. So we can go to the console. And where was that? That was a hinge, this one. And we're going to say add small head. Yeah, you can see there's a tiny little baby. Means we can now build around this and pack a lot more into this little gimbal space. We're going to need a couple of probably some connector pieces. You know, we can place them around here. Now we can attach whatever we like. So if we wanted to add an autocannon, which I definitely do want to add an autocannon, we can place it something like there and there. Using the small grid weapons means we can fit a lot more into this small space, but also they're just cheaper to build. I'm also going to be adding 1 or 2 other pieces. Right at the center, I'm going to add a camera because this is going to allow us to view. Equivalent at the back, we're going to be adding a custom turret controller. And really this is the brains that makes everything work. It's the same block that we saw on the solar panels down there, and it's the same block from earlier in the series. So if we build this up, this is going to be, as I said, the brains and a camera. That is the eye. That's really all you need to make this start working. Setting this up, the azimuth rotor is going to be the VC gimbal advanced rotor. The elevation, I know it says rotor, but we just need to find the hinge, the VC gimbal hinge. Camera, VC gimbal, camera. But the great thing for this now is we could jump into a seat. If we grab our turret controller and just put it somewhere here, and there will be an option for control. Control, there it is. And just like that, we are now controlling that gimbal on top. Yeah, look at us pan around and have a look. So let me put some of this together, weld in some pieces, and maybe make it look a bit nicer. Super, so I did some off-camera tinkering. You know, you love to hear it when someone says they did some off-camera stuff. I've added some Gatlings at the bottom, I've added some autocannons at the top, and you can also see there's a little screen, we'll look at that in a second. And there's the camera and ore detector. So it's a multifunctional gimbal. And again, if we jump in here, and I press control, as I can move around, we can see both the screen at the bottom as well as just moving. I also put some ammo in, and so you know what I can do? Bam, 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 bam. Go absolutely nuts. Now, I don't always want to go absolutely nuts. I should probably add some controls to not shoot everything all at once, but now we have the option. Hey, look, I think we've been sitting here for so long, though. We should just start making our way forward. I know the warp gate is over there. Let's make our way maybe down towards some of these asteroid clusters. It's kind of on the way. We just spin and we just drive. And as we're driving along, I'm just going to be jumping in the turret here and trying to scan some ores. Hey, you know what? Again, I'm just chilling here scanning. And I was just looking at this asteroid. And as I scanned it, I think it has silver. So let's just aim the Valle Crucis up a little bit, see what it would take to get us there. Look at this, we found silver. This is actually fantastic. I mean, silver's not the most useful for... Whoa. Who are you? Suspicious. But we have found silver here. Looks like we're not the only ones. I'm just making sure that that person is not doing anything silly. Nom 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 nom. So I've mined out a full inventory worth of silver here. I suspect I'm going to be doing a couple of back and forths, just trying to mine all of this out. I don't want to have to go hunting for silver yet again. And to do these back and forths, I might just move the Valle Crucis closer to where that hole in the asteroid is. So over some of the mining trips, we managed to pull up 20,000 silver, which is fantastic. It's going to take a while to process this into ingots. But if we look at our production tab, the assembler tab, we can search by particular blocks. We're not going to have enough silver to make a large reactor, but we certainly can make a small reactor. If we look, it's only going to require 166 silver. The other fun little tidbit with silver, we can now process and produce our own tier 3 tools. So now we're going to have a proficient welder, a proficient hand drill, and a proficient grinder. I was just thinking on it, why not? Why not let's just start queuing up building whatever we can. We'll just see how far we can get. I managed to tuck a small reactor up here in the roof and started building it, and let's see. Okay, only 57 reactor components to go. That's not bad. Of course, there's not much point having this small reactor unless we have uranium, which means it's time for some more scanning and time for some more travel. Sometimes when you're zoomed in and you're looking at an asteroid, you might even be able to just see the material, the ore straight away in the textures. So you can see on that bottom right, that looks like there might be something. And when I zoom out and check my scanner, it says it might even be platinum. So I'm very keen to go check out whatever this asteroid is over here as well. And looky, we've pulled up to some platinum. It's the same thing every time. Pull up, jump in the miner. Now, where is that platinum actually? Is it visible on the surface? Because I thought we could see this one from the surface. Just some random pockmarks? What am I looking for? Platinum, where are you? Hey, that looks like the stuff. I personally think doing mining on camera is pretty boring, so I'm going to be skipping over some of this. But again, I'm just going to be doing a couple of trips back and forth. Jumping forward in time, we can see I've got some platinum and it is now immediately being processed in the refinery. I'm also wondering if our reactor components, it looks like our reactor components are done. 57 reactor components, we should be able to have this. All components successfully withdrawn, fantastic. Finish welding that up and we have a small reactor. Now, As I said before, it's not going to turn on. We don't actually have any uranium, which is so sad. At least we now have this in place. It's pretty funny because you know how earlier in this episode we made the upgraded tools? Now that we have platinum, we can just upgrade our tools again. So we should be able to make all three of the more higher tier, the top tier. Oh my gosh, I've just been flying around, but I think this asteroid might have uranium. So I'm going to quickly pivot the ship and see if we can get to this asteroid over here. Yeah, I haven't really had any strong purpose. I've just been driving in a straight line, honestly. Iron and uranium, 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 uranium. I think we're just going to pivot the Valle Crucis to get nice and close to that uranium. And while we're here, we should probably deploy our wings. So it's basically going to be the same story. We can grab the uranium. Actually, I feel like we can see the uranium right there. We're going to grab this, and we're just going to do a couple of laps back and forth, mining and returning. Let's check out the uranium hole. As always, we sit in our chair. Where is it? Uranium. Oh, we can already see there's some in the small reactor. Oh, that is fantastic. So when we look at uranium, we've got some processed in the reactor. We've got some in the wings waiting. And 17,000. Not bad, not bad. So what does that mean for the power situation? When we look at the batteries, fully recharged in 1 hour. 19 minutes, 19 1 hour. Oh, that is so exciting. Oh, that has us in a really nice place. All we're missing is the gold for the superconductors. While we wait for everything to process, there was a suggestion that we should probably be using drones. And I also think drones are just very fun, and I feel like I want to build something right now. And so right here in space next to the Valle Crucis, next to the uranium, let's build a drone. Now, the goal for this drone is it needs to be able to be a combat drone, right? We've seen how slow and lumbering the Valle Crucis is. We need something that is a bit snappier. And I think we go through some of the design process of this drone, and I'll kind of show you how I plan these things, or I think of these things. I know that I want this large connector, not because it is the most efficient. I know there are small connectors, but I want the large one because it works with the docking script. Sorry, we should be using the small version here. Right, so we've got this insect connector, and that is basically going to be the width of the drone, right? This connector is also aiming to be basically all the storage. And I know there's a little spot down here, and I'm just going to put a gun. Big old Gatling gun sitting there. Now, this looks really silly right now. I do have some ideas for what we can do aesthetically, but let me just weld this up. Let me weld this up. Oh, actually, Crichton, you can help out. Fantastic. We're going to be able to build while I talk. Not so worried about all of the interior right now. I'm just going to build this out because I want to build the face. You know, the really important thing. So about here, and then this is going to be the nose of the drone. No, Crichton, no. Okay, one second. So Crichton will help us build this up. It's not all exactly going to be like this. I'm just trying to find shape, and then we'll put function in afterwards. I know, it's opposite. It's meant to be function makes form, but I'm going form before function. You can fight me in the comments about this. The kind of shape that I'm thinking is probably some sort of gap, or I want to make this like a focal front point. And then I'm feeling like some, excuse me? Oh, meteors, sure. Yeah, so some kind of shape here, probably accentuate the camera, maybe have a gap. And then I was thinking about, how do I make a Crichton that's not fun? Okay, I stopped it spinning. I won't learn my lesson though. I'm not going to do anything about it. He's 100% going to do it again. What was I saying? Yeah, some kind of gap. Like on the bottom, it'll be equivalent to the gun. On the top, it might be the reverse thruster. I saw this on a build recently where it was a bit of a frowny face. I don't know how to describe it. If we put down a half slab and then a these light armor slopes, we're going to get a bit of an arch shape. Yeah, so I've got this sort of arch shape, and imagine now you repeat it on the bottom. There's a gun sticking out. I think it makes a bit of a cool looking drone with an eye of sorts. Or at least that's how I'm envisioning it. Let me build some of this up and we'll maybe see what I mean. Yeah, you can see a bit of that shape now. And we've got a bit of this curve and it's like an eye. That's the only way I can picture it. I'm not sure whether it's better in this vertical orientation or in this horizontal TIE fighter kind of orientation. Am I allowed to say TIE fighter? Is that copyright? But I really like this shape that's coming out. I probably will build some more things forwards. This eye part is sitting a little proud, or I don't know. And I basically have all of this space from, I guess, the top back to the connector to fill up with fun logic and fill up with thrusters. I guess thrusters are going to be one of the main things. It is going to be a little bit asymmetrical because I don't want anything sticking out further than the profile. So like those thrusters are sticking out too far. It looks a little bit funny. I am happy to have the thrusters a little bit... Oh no, I knocked it again. Oh, I said I would not learn from my mistakes and I'm paying for it again. I mean, what? Actually, what the heck? It stopped rotating. I didn't realize that was a feature. I thought it would rotate indefinitely. Okay, cool. I think now that I have the structure here, really I'm just going to be jamming as many functional blocks as I can in the middle. So let's jump into a time lapse. I'll do some configuration and then I'll show you what I've done afterwards. Okay, so it's turned into a little bit of a brick. I know curvy bits at the top and the bottom, but the rest of it is pretty much a brick, and I'm just wondering what I can do to break up that shape. Some of the easy things I know you can do is, say you've got like just two in a row, we can jump in and this is easily my favorite block, this light armor slope base. We can just turn it around. Oh, I'm noticing some unwelded blocks. I'll fix that in a moment. We can just turn them around and paint them, and suddenly it looks like there's some more detail. There's something to it. Now, I originally wanted the profile all within this connector here, because then you can line them up that you've got drone followed by drone followed by drone. And that means I didn't want anything sticking out. But you know what? I think the aesthetics are going to be worth whatever will be sticking out. Oh, look, there's another block not welded up. The aesthetics are going to be worth something sticking out. So let's add a bit more shape and wings to this. Okay, so I've just been working on it, tweaking it a little bit. In a time lapse, it would just look like I'm just standing there, looking at the same block, deleting the block. But you can see I've added some lights, I've added these little winglet things. They're not that huge, but they're something. You might also notice I've shrunk it, the length by one block. I've tucked the nose in a little bit. So it was still looking like a grey blob to me, so I decided to just go ahead and paint it. Basically copied these vertical highlights and made them horizontal strips. I made it a little bit darker. This turns out to be quite a bright, almost pinkish red. So I've made it a little darker on here, but that's basically it. You might have noticed that there is no cockpit, there's nowhere for me to sit, and that is fully the intention. These are remote controllable, so if we go up to here in remote access, we've got this small grid, and we can go control, and immediately I'm now steering this. We got forward, backwards, left, right, up, down, and we can just spin in a dime. We now need to find somewhere to connect this one and maybe a second one onto the ship somewhere. We just need space for a large connector. I'm looking somewhere up the top here, or maybe somewhere underneath. It'd be cool that it sits under the wings. I just had to snoop around looking for conveyor connectors, and the only place we can really find conveyors is at the top of the wings here. I'm pretty sure if we dig through here, we can find a conveyor port. Oh my goodness. It's like it was planned. It wasn't, but it's like it was planned. Okay, so this should be as easy as adding some of these tubes coming outwards. Looks like we're going to have to add one going upwards. Would it be nicer to come out of that? Yeah, it'd be nicer to come out of there. I'm going to cut this whole lid off. So with that hold lid taken off, we are going to just add the T-junction, building this straight again, and then if we go inset connector, the reason I'm choosing the inset connector is it has a very convenient right angle. So that one means I can face it forward, and we should be able to plug in just here. Let me line up the drone and double check that before I go too crazy. Hooray, it fits pretty easily. It looks like we might scrape the ground on the side here, but I'm not too worried. We are precision flyers, we'll be fine. Let's jump in and weld all of this up. I'm going to commit it. So I hinted earlier that we might do some kind of printing, some kind of welding to repair and produce these drones. So I added a connector on the starboard side of the Valle Crucis, and I've also got one on the port side, and you're like, what? But we don't have a second one. I don't really want to handcraft it, and so we are going to set up a mini welding printing scenario. To get this started, we want to make sure that we've got a blueprint of the thing we're trying to print. If I hit Control B, it's going to make a blueprint here. We're calling it drone. And because this is a small grid ship, we need to make a small grid projector. Much the same as you saw me do here, of where we mapped a large grid to small grid via a little hinge. You can see I've already added a rotor here with a tiny little rotor head, and this one's like large grid to small grid. Same mechanics as we did at the front of the ship. And now if we just add a couple blocks, you can see that these are small armor blocks on top of large armor block. Now the trick for a projector is placing this down in the right orientation. If we weld this up, of course I've never got everything. If we weld this up, and now if we go into the menu for this projector, okay, there's a couple of extra options here because I'm using some plugins and mods, but everybody's gonna have this button called blueprints, and we can find that blueprint that we made of our drone. And super, look at that. You can see this weird holographic thing. And these blocks, in theory, I can weld up. So it's like somewhere in there, I could weld them up. It's not very well aligned right now, so I'm going to fix this. I can fix it with this vertical offset here. You can see in the background as I shuffle this up and down, that's going up and down. And I've planned ahead, and I know that -4 is the right position for this ship. And if I turn on this show only buildable, you can see it's just looking for one block. And sure, I can definitely weld this up by hand. And as I weld these up by hand, you're seeing all the other blocks become available. But that's boring. I'm not going to weld this up by hand. That seems super tedious. So we are going to use an automated welder, or at least a big ship welder. And this is much the same as what we used to build the Valle Crucis earlier in the series. So now that's welded up, I should be able to go in and turn that welder on. Now it's on, we can see this drone being built. How cool is that? And just like that, we are all built up. Well, it's mostly built up. There might be a few internal things missing. I could visually inspect it, but I think the projector should be able to tell me as well. Yep, so if I'm looking at the connected projector, armor blocks are all complete, but we can see small battery too. So we're just missing those last two blocks, and I think it's an easy guess that they are missing power cells. The last of the power cells should be being created right now, which is fantastic. And if I jump back to that welder, just turn it on for a bit. Looking at that projector again, and it's saying that there's no blocks missing, so we should be all done. And now it should be as simple as cutting off this block here, and it is now a standalone drone. And look, it flies. Meow. And you saw I labeled the other one D1, so this one is going to be labeled D2. So cool. Now that we have this drone, we can fly it over real delicately. And we should be able to park it in the port side drone slot. Really, as we cruise along here, I'm just slowly making my way to the warp gate. It's so far away, we're not going to make it by just driving here. We still need that gold so that we can make a jump drive. But we've made a heap of progress towards getting that uranium, platinum, silver, and we now have basically sorted out our power requirements, which means we can charge our jump drive. And I think that just might have to do us for this episode. We're about at time. I feel like we've made a heap of progress. There was so much off-camera mining. I'm sorry. But here we are. We're building up our little fleet. We've got our little drones. We've got our fun solar panels. And we have our eventual destination. So that's going to do us for this episode. We might have one more episode left of this series, where hopefully we're going to make this jump to the warp gate and we can find our way back to Earth, and we can report all the wrongdoings of what's been happening out here in the deep black. Anyway, thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.